Welcome back to the TrailBLAZER Pod. I'm your host Faye, and each week I bring you stories of Jewish women who are paving bold paths. This week's guest is Michelle Morris, a storyteller, strategist, and a founder on a mission to elevate Jewish voices. In this episode, she shares how she built HerSpace to empower Jewish women in the arts, and why her new venture is all about crafting positive, purposeful narratives. Michelle seeks to empower women with opportunities so that they can do anything without the pressure of doing everything. Let's dive in. Michelle, welcome to the TrailBLAZER Pod. Thanks so much for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to know you. I like to start with everyone by asking them about what they were like as a little kid. Like, what was little Michelle like? What was your early context?
So I had a lot of brothers. And I was the only, so I had my sister when I was 11. So up until 11, it was just me and the three boys.
Wow.
So it was a very boyish household. And by contrast, I was very, very, very feminine and very girly. And I was a huge dreamer. I didn't really like school. I loved, I loved reading, dancing, art. Very introverted, probably on the quieter side. Yeah.
Like always in your head?
Always. But even now, I'm a huge dreamer. And my kids sometimes are talking to me and I don't respond straight away because they know I'm too busy thinking. And I say, you're interrupting my thought. I'm thinking. I do get back to them, just there's a lag.
But at least you're self-aware about it, and then you can communicate with people. Like, it's not, I'm in my head about this, because not everyone's aware that they're doing that.
Yeah, and I do something very weird. My kids will come in the room, tell me something, but I'll be finishing my thought, and a whole minute later I will respond to them.
That's actually funny. It's really funny. It's probably really funny to watch as an outsider.
That they are so taken aback. They're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, what you just said.
Because you heard it. Probably seems like you're not hearing what they're saying, and then it's just like a...
Yeah, it's like the printer queue. It needs I need time to process it.
Wow, fascinating. So you were saying that you were very feminine. I'm just curious, like, was your mom like that? Is that where you took that from, or it was just a...
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You can look her up. She's all over Instagram. Her name is Estee Stimler, Estee Stimler. Okay. She's quite an activist, actually.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she's a very, very glamorous, very feminine woman. All of my early memories are her putting on her makeup.
Wow. Okay.
That kind of thing.
I feel like when you grow up with brothers, it usually is the opposite unless you have like a very strong feminine presence in your life. So I was just curious about that. What's your Jewish background? Did you have Jewish role models? What was it like? Everyone that I bring on here has like a very, part of what I'm really proud about this podcast is everyone has a very different Jewish background, even though we're all Jewish. And there's so many, like there can be somebody, I grew up very Orthodox, and there could be somebody that grew up like with no tradition at all. Like they just knew they were Jewish. And then somehow there's always these overlaps, which I'm amazed by, right? So I always like to ask that question.
Oh, I love it. So I'm a bit of a mishmash. So my mum grew up very modern Orthodox and my dad grew up, I would say like Haredi light, like very, very chilled Haredi.
Okay.
So together, we were just more of a chilled family. So even though they did send me to a Beis Yaakov primary school, I totally did not fit in. And I'm just one of those people that I don't think I necessarily fit an exact box.
Yeah.
But I probably resonate most with Chabad, even though I'm not Lubavitch. But definitely all of their teachings really resonate with me about, not being judgmental and Jewish joy and Jewish light and seeing the positive and seeing, people's souls. So that's like where I'm at. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And as for role models, Jewish role models, we once had a visitor in school. It was Rebinson Young Grace. Have you heard of her?
Yes.
So I don't remember anything she said, but I just remember the way she looked. And I remember thinking, like, I want to be like her when I'm older, because she was just so polished and so eloquent and so intelligent. There was no takeaway from what she actually said. But I just remember thinking, I respect her so much because she takes such good care of herself and she's so well
Wow.
put together and yet really knows what she's talking about at the same time. So
Wow.
out of
That's really
everyone,
cool.
probably that.
Yeah. I find it so fascinating how these certain nuances stick with us. Like we don't even know exactly what it is. It doesn't have to be something that someone says. It's just someone can walk into a room and you're like, your presence is everything. That's what I want to emulate. I just think it's so amazing that you saw this
Exactly.
as a kid and you still remember that it's like a visceral thing.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah. Saying that you didn't fit into like any box, right? I'm curious, did you have a hard time with that? Because I feel like sometimes kids like structure and understanding where they fit in. You sound more like the dreamer type and you is totally okay with not, like nothing's black and white. I feel like I'm a little bit different. Is that, am I correct with that?
You are 100% on the nose. It wasn't so easy, but it also, I think a big part of it is learning how to people please.
Mm-hmm.
And then a big part of my development as an adult is to figure out the boundaries with that. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
where does people pleasing end and what's good for me begin? So
Yeah.
that's something I've had to navigate and
It's
teach
such a hard
myself.
thing. I think so many, I definitely deal with that. I think so many young women deal with that. I think we're just not taught how to find the balance in that, you know? And
Yeah,
I often ask people on the podcast for advice about that. Of course, personally, I'm very selfish. I want to know for myself, but I think that so many young girls listening can relate to this. And I think even women, like I think my mom can still relate to this, you know, women in their 40s and 50s. And it's something that I think we all struggle with. So I think that's very relatable. I'm curious when you were like 17, 18, 19, what did you want to do?
I didn't know what I wanted to do
Okay.
because I was interested in so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'm going to study journalism. So it will give
Okay.
me transferable skills and the ability to always go after the things that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how
Smart.
I came to study journalism. And
And what did your early career look like?
so I've always freelanced. So I did a bit of freelance writing. I did a lot of freelance editorial photography, which I really enjoyed. But at the same time, I mean, I already had two little kids at home by the time I graduated. So I had my daughter, who's now 13, in my first year of university, which made me like an alien because you can't get like a more woke lefty place than, you know, journalism
Yes.
school.
Yeah.
And then I was already pregnant with my second at graduation. So I've never been able to do the whole full-time thing. Everything's always been very flexible.
Yeah.
And also a lot of voluntary work, which I found very, very fulfilling and stimulating.
Yeah. Do you feel I'm not a mom, and I actually recently had a couple people on the podcast talking about being a mom and also having a career at the same time because it's something that I'm definitely like nervous about. Like when I become a mom, will I lose that sense of myself? Because I do, I'm very driven. I like working a lot, probably too much. But I'm curious, like becoming a mom at such a young age and saying like you always have to do the flexible stuff. Did you find that that's something you wanted, or it's almost like you had to do what you had to do and have and feel free to just share as much as you wanted. If it's too personal, don't worry about that. But did you feel any sort of resentment that like now I can't have a full-time career or, the traditional route?
I definitely think I've gone through more challenging times, especially because there were so many things that I wanted to do, but they were 9 to 5 and,
Yes.
school pickups at like 3:30. So like
Yeah.
you just can't do it. And not just work wise, it's also course wise. All the courses I've ever done,
Wow.
all the extra learning I've done, it's always been, either flexible hours or there was one amazing year that I did at Christie's Education, which was 9 till 3.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, so that was like
Yeah.
perfect. But opportunities like that don't come along
Right.
so often. So yeah, I did feel like, okay, well, this is what I have to do. I definitely think, you're in a much healthier position almost to have a fully developed career before you have children, because then you'll always have something to come back to, even
Yeah.
in between children. Whereas for me, that was never an option
Right.
because I had to be a stay-at-home mom first and then try
Yeah.
and put everything in between. I mean, I've always just tried to make the best of things. Even though I've always been a stay-at-home mom, I've never been a fully stay-at-home mom. I've always needed to be stimulated. I've always felt the need to give back and contribute. But I've also, saying that, and this is very important, I've also always treated postpartum as like a sacred time where I'm not doing anything for anyone else outside the house. Okay. So a lot of women, they jump straight back into things and they feel the price of that later on down the line. But for me, the 6 months after having a baby, I called it my 4th trimester. And I didn't do anything besides for breastfeed and look after my other kids. And that was probably the only time that was really sacrosanct to me. And that was very important to me.
What made you decide to do that? Did you see someone do it, or was this just like decided was right for you?
I think I'm naturally a very maternal person. So my instincts have always been, to figure out, that right balance of really being there for my kids, but also being stimulated, intellectually and creatively. And I've read a lot of books on the subject of postpartum healing outside of Western culture. Okay, and that's really the way that things are supposed to be. I think Western culture and expectations have kind of ruined that whole experience for women.
Yeah, I love listening to women who have children talk about their experiences. It's a recent thing of mine because I used to be like, no, don't even want to go there. But now it's like my sister-in-laws are having babies. Like 3 of them had babies this year, and I'm just like learning everyone's. Yeah, and I just find it amazing that everyone, and that's the problem I think with social media, is that you put it into like these little boxes. This is how it should be, but everyone's journey is so different. Like you got to do what's right for you. And I think me having these conversations with like I feel so privileged that I get to talk to people like you, because I get to hear personalized experiences versus like just seeing a post on Instagram and be like, if it's not like that, it's wrong, And so I think it's special that you did what was right for you. Okay, so when I connected with you on LinkedIn, of course, because I saw this article about your new PR firm, and I did the research into you, and then I read about the HerSpace thing, and I'm like, what is happening? Who's this woman? What was this? Why didn't I know about this when it happened? And I think it's amazing, and it's so incredible that you did something like this, and that's what really, like, I reached out to you. I said, this really aligns with everything I'm trying to do with the podcast. So can you share how HerSpace started and like what the vision was for it?
Okay, and first of all, let me just say, I was so excited when you added me on LinkedIn, because I was like, ooh, like I'm really feeling like her vibe about empowering women. So I was excited when you connected with me on LinkedIn. So HerSpace. So for anyone that doesn't know, and probably most people, it is the Jewish Women's Fashion, Arts and Culture Festival, and we did one on the cusp of COVID in early March 2020, which I'm so grateful for that went through. And then we did our second one in June 2023. There's a possibility of another one. I just need to figure out the logistics of who, how, and
why,
what.
When, where.
A lot of logistics. And it was all completely voluntary. And the interesting thing about it was that a group of us women did it voluntarily. And it was to promote these Jewish women who were doing amazing things in the creative industries. And we had a series of panel discussions. And at the same time, we had this amazing marketplace that was a curated selection of Jewish female vendors selling products that they either made themselves or designed themselves. So it was a very specific remit, but the energy was through the roof, off the charts. It was such good female energy. And it was, on one hand, the charitable aspect was to promote these small Jewish, female businesses. And on the other hand, we also paid it forward, because the money from the raffles and the tickets, and we only asked for like 10% of what they made that day, which would go to Marsa anyway. That's all. That all went to, these charities that helped Jewish women. So the first one went to Noah Girls in 2020, and they helped teenagers in the UK who are, Jewish teenagers who are going through a rough time. And then the second charity we worked with was Jewish Women's Aid, and they help Jewish women who are going through domestic abuse.
Wow.
So yes, that was really nice to be able to, it was just a whole thing of paying it forward, a lot of good energy, a lot of good intentions, and
the photos look amazing. They're like, you can feel I looked at the Instagram, you can feel the energy through the photos. I can't imagine what it was like to be there. And is there any other such festivals around the world? I feel like I haven't heard of it.
I haven't seen anything like that because our focus wasn't on making money. It was a charitable initiative. So
let me ask you about that, because you're mentioning also volunteering. Like, I know you're very it's very, very strong Jewish values. Like, where did that come from? Did you grow up like this, and it was like instilled in you from a young age?
Yes, literally. Like twice a week, my parents would have these big meetings around their dining room tables. They both had charities that they volunteered for. My mum taught, and did classes for one charity. She was always giving. My mum in particular was my dad was amazing, and he did a lot of the grunt work for a lot of charities voluntarily. But my mum, what was interesting there was that she would always use her skills. So I remember we went to, I don't remember what it was. It was like some sort of market where I think it was like a Hanukkah market raising money for a charity. And they wanted her to do a gift wrapping workshop because she just gift wraps immaculately.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember one of the ways that she was teaching people to gift wrap was with newspaper, and it was the most fabulous wrapping you've ever seen.
So interesting.
Yeah, so I've always seen her do things like that, and always using her creativity for the good.
Wow. What an amazing example, right? That's incredible.
She really is amazing. And even now, I mean, the stuff she's doing now is very inspiring to me.
I'm sure she's proud of you too. Look what you've done.
Thank you. You should have her on the podcast. She's amazing.
Let's do it. So let's talk a little bit about, I want to ask you advice, or more like your take on certain things. Something that I think I deal with, and a lot of Jewish women deal with, or women in general, is like the balance between celebrating tradition and like your traditional values, and I think this is where it comes in for Jewish women specifically, but also like breaking barriers and molds, and kind of the trailblazer aspect. Like, how do you basically do those things at the same time?
So it's interesting. So like with anything creatively, you need to have parameters, you need to have rules. I've got lots of friends who are artists, and their best work was when they were in university and they were given, these exact rigid set of rules, and then they had to work within the parameters.
Interesting.
So I think with all the traditions and all the rules in place and the constraints, that is how we're able to really blossom and do our best. And I think the amazing thing about Judaism, which I understand more and more as I get older, is, first of all, God loves us all unconditionally, which I didn't necessarily think when I was young. And also, there are just so many different nuances and different shades. And you hear one rabbi talking about something as if it's complete fact. And then you hear another rabbi saying, oh, well, actually, it's... So we can all figure out for ourselves what the parameters are, and then do really well within that, I think.
Yeah. That's a really interesting take. I like how you brought it back to the creativity part. Like, it's so clearly so innate in you. So I'm gonna quote something, and I think this was an article where you were talking about HerSpace when the festival was going on, and it was that HerSpace is about giving women the opportunity to do anything without the pressure of doing everything. And I've never heard it like said this way specifically. I think it's so brilliant. Can you talk to me about what that looks like in practice?
Okay, so I think it's about potential. I think anyone has the potential to do anything. And that's how I was brought up. If a human somewhere has done it, like, you can do it too. It's within the potential. But then, of course, there's life, and we can't do everything, especially all at once, which feeds back to what I was saying about postpartum. Just because you can get dressed and go to shul in high heels 2 days after you've given birth doesn't necessarily mean that you should or have to,
Yes.
So even though you can do everything, you don't have to feel the pressure to do everything.
Right. Yeah.
And it's about pacing yourself, but at the same time knowing that the potential is there. And then at every right time and every right stage in your life, that's when you activate and you lean into that potential.
Yeah. For somebody that feels, like I think it's especially for young women, like the world is their oyster, right? They could do anything. What advice would you give to them to kind of like slow down and figure out that they don't have to do it all at the same time? I feel like also sometimes in personal experience, when you do everything at the same time, you can't give the things 100%, right? It's just not possible. That took me a long time to learn. I had to learn it the hard way. But what advice would you have for people listening?
I think you just have to really look out for your cues that your body sends you. So a big clue that you're overdoing it is not being able to fall asleep at night or not being able to stay sleeping. So as soon as, your quality of sleep is affected, then you have to have a look at your schedule and say, okay, maybe I'm overscheduled. Like I did today, by the way. I totally overscheduled today.
It happens, right?
It happens. Yeah. So you can look at your schedule and a lot of people put pressure on themselves like, oh, I can't cancel that or I can't do that. But I think you can cancel or move things as long as you just do it in a really nice way and you say it in a nice way. And people respect it. People respect if you're not able to do something.
100%. I completely agree with you. I think like I used to not want to say no to anything and also do that. And then you realize then when you show up, you're not showing up fully. And then you're doing like, let's take this podcast, for example. Let's say you didn't want to be here and you came anyways, then you'd be doing me a disservice and the audience a disservice because then you're just not giving your full self, right? And I think it takes, sometimes you have to go through it to learn it. But I think if we can hear this more often, like it's okay, which we're not told enough, then hopefully eventually it seeps in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about empowerment. It's the theme of HerSpace and the theme of the TrailBLAZER pod. What do you think it takes for Jewish women to feel empowered, specifically in today's environment?
Well, I think podcasts like this is very good. I think it's about hearing other people's point of view, hearing from people that you wouldn't necessarily come into contact with, the type of people that you wouldn't come into contact with on your, on a regular day, and educating yourself. When I say educating yourself, unfortunately, I don't mean social media. Like to me, a podcast is long form content. Yeah. And I think when you're, engaging with long form content, like a podcast, like a film, like a series or a book or the newspaper, like the physical newspaper, then you're going to come across things that you didn't necessarily opt in to hear, but that expands your mind. Whereas if people are purely being educated from social media, I mean, those algorithms know you better than you know yourself.
Crazy.
And you're only getting the exact same thing.
You're
not really learning anything. You might pick up something new, but I really use social media to have a laugh and for entertainment. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah, it's just so hard to find that balance. Like I didn't have social media for a while before the podcast, and then I got back onto it. And thankfully, because I didn't have it, I know that I can do without it, right? So I don't constantly have to go on it. But I think it was 4 years ago that I like shut down social media. And even then,
I did the same thing, by the way.
Oh, isn't it?
I did the same thing. I went off social media for about 8 years. I've only just rejoined.
Oh, that's even longer. Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it creates this like healthy boundary. But then when I came back, I was like, what is happening? My whole feed was like based on what I saw 2 seconds ago. Everything is like what you paused on, right? They like know within the second. And of course you don't gain information that you like wouldn't see otherwise. It's terrifying to me. I try not to like pause on social media because I'm like, I know if I watch this for 2 seconds, that's what they're going to be showing me for the rest of the week. But yeah, people don't know that. So where do you think like the gaps are currently for Jewish women in terms of feeling empowered, and like what can we do about it?
So besides for engaging with long form content, I think more events in real life would be amazing. HerSpace is a very big, ambitious event, and it's very difficult to put something on at that level. But that doesn't mean to say that people can't host smaller events in their homes or, in other community spaces. And I think, by having panel discussions and, just expanding your circle and expanding the type of ideas that you invite into your life in real life would have more of an impact than, going into the circle of social media.
Yeah, great advice. So pivoting a little bit from HerSpace, Emerald PR, pretty new, right?
Very.
How did that start, and how is it different from like other PRs kind of? I'm curious, like, what's the uniqueness of it?
I know. So it's interesting that you asked me this because we're about to just redo our website. Because what we've come to realize is that there is a gap in the market for charities and for Jewish causes and, causes in general.
Yeah.
So we're about to just remake our website because that's what we want to do. We like doing proactive PR. We like doing positive PR, telling positive Jewish stories. And that's what we have been doing through the agency so far. And please God, we'll continue to do.
Yes, definitely. I was going to ask you how it connects to your broader values, but you kind of just answered that, like focusing on those positivity and the Jewish values. And I feel like a lot of PR, especially nowadays, is the opposite. Like, like the negative stories sell, right?
I know, they do.
They do, but it also like does nothing for the soul. It feeds nothing. It's kind of the same as scrolling on social media. So I think, I'm glad you're doing, I didn't check out the website, but I'm glad, I feel like that's what's gonna stand out, is that you guys are different because of that. And I think having your partner is also another woman, right?
Yes, she is. She's another Jewish woman.
Another Jewish woman. Actually, and I think even that sets the tone for standing out and being a different type of business and all that stuff. So I think it's amazing. I'm excited to see what you guys do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And it kind of goes back to your journalism.
Yeah. Right? Definitely. Yeah.
Look, full circle.
Yeah.
So last question, what being a trailblazer means to you?
So I don't think there's ever anything new under the sun that hasn't necessarily been done before. I think what makes people and their stories unique and different and, trailblazing is that each person just has a different combination of things that everyone else has done.
Yeah.
So to me, a trailblazer is taking a combination of a whole bunch of different things that you love to do and, that vibrate with you on your, higher level and your soul purpose and acting on it.
Yeah. Like tweaking it to make it what works for you and something. And then it really becomes a new version of something, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
It also connects to your whole thing about what you were saying about creating within the parameters, right? Like the parameters are already there, but it's figuring out how to make it your own within that. And it really ties back to that theme as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you do another
Thank you so much.
No pressure, but I think it would be amazing now that I know about it, it would be amazing to see how it comes alive. But of course,
okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It'll be great if you could come. Thank you so much.